Yo, people, welcome back to the YouTube channel. You already know what time it is. It's time for your episode of All You Can Eat Chelsea. And we are starving because there is nothing going on in the Chelsea community. It is dead. It's almost like as if everyone was obliterated. Do you know what I'm saying? The season has taken a pause and much needed because, that last result against Everton was not enjoyable. And we do need a break. But, Baba, welcome back as well. I'll start with you. Fresh back from your trip from London, you got to see the Blues in the flesh. You got to see the highs, the lows, the scuffles, everything. Talk to me, bro.
Yeah,
How are you doing? How are you feeling?
I'm good. I'm good, bro. It's great to be back. And like after such a brilliant trip, got to see Chelsea play for the first time in my life. Got to visit Stamford Bridge. Someone had asked me that what is your ultimate Chelsea dream. So I told them that I want to see Chelsea play a Champions League knockout game at Stamford Bridge on a cold winter night, and that is what I've exactly done when I was here. So brilliant. The cherry on top was that we won the game. We are into the quarterfinals. But yeah, it's not all sunshine and roses, as you have said. The result against Everton, dampened the spirits a bit. But yeah, the trip was amazing. London is a beautiful, beautiful city.
Yeah.
And yeah, looking forward to visiting again, man. Thank you so
Yeah,
much.
bro. Listen, there's definitely a lot of what's that sound? That's probably you, Baba. I think, is it?
Yeah.
Damn, that's
My,
really
yeah.
sure, Mike. Miz, how are you doing, my brother? How are you feeling? Because what an insane result that was.
Such a dampener, bro. Such a sad way to move into the international and spend 2 weeks, having that result lingering on the head. Yeah, bro. I guess that's life, isn't it? That's life. We move
Yep.
through the international break and we'll see what happens. Hopefully, no one gets injured. And after the international break, it's quite mad, Matisse. It's quite mad.
Do you know what? Yeah, because it's now a few days on. Do you know what I mean? Way on now. We're not even going to talk about the Everton game. We're not even going to do that.
It's not worth it. Yeah.
Not going to do that to ourselves. We're not going to do that to the international break, to the viewers. Do you know what I mean? I think this is a good time. We haven't even the start of this debate in the group chat, and it was quite interesting to see. I think this whole Felix thing actually might be happening. This Felix still seems like it might be happening. I did a prediction for the squad for 23-24, and I didn't include Felix in there purely because if he's going to cost say 100 million or whatever it's going to be, I think we're going to look at having Nkunku and maybe look at getting the actual striker up top, the number 9. We've got Enzo for the creativity. He's kind of become like maybe a bonus, not maybe a necessity in terms of the positions, and need a DM and a goalkeeper potentially. But I'm seeing that the asking prices maybe dropping to 80, 85, and that it's more and more likely that he comes in, Mason Mount goes out. Now, the first thing is that someone tweeted quite funnily, how hilarious would it be if Jorginho and Mount left in the same season? All of the anarchy that surrounds these two players. Todd Boehly was like, you know what? I've had enough of this. Just get rid of them both. Just get rid of them both. I'm not picking a side. Just both of them just get out and then just go from there. Do you know what I mean? Incomes maybe Declan Rice and Felix. That would be even funnier. But how will these guys play together? Baba, I think you were saying in the group chat, you don't think they can play together. So say we hypothetically have Kai Havertz, Nkunku, and João Felix. You have concerns about that, is it?
Yeah, I mean, these are players who are not your out and out number 9s, who are not your out and out wingers. They are like inside forwards. We have plenty of inside forwards already. I think if we are to implement a system, we need conventional players. For example, I feel very bad. The other day, Mudryk played really good against Leicester, but the next game he does not get from the bench also. So these things happen when you have too many players of similar profile. Again, Nkunku coming in with João Felix staying, then the whole Mount situation is also there. So I don't think so how we are going to accommodate all of these players. I think it's end of Havertz, to be honest. But when I visited Stamford Bridge and when I visited all of the Chelsea related places, I can see the face of the club right now is Kai Havertz. Like, he's everywhere, man, in the mega store, on the stadium, on the walls. Like, Kai Havertz is the guy right now. So is he going to leave actually in the summer? That's the main question. And what I really want is, I think we have done the bulk of the heavy lifting as far as the transfer is concerned. Uh, I rather would look at a proper number nine. Miz the other day had posted his striking options. I think that is where we need to look at right now. A proper striker, a proper number nine. With Nkunku coming in, if it doesn't matter if Felix stays or goes, because I think they are kind of players with of similar mold. So if you are to play two false nines and not going after a striker, then I could understand, but that could backfire miserably, because without a striker we always struggle, and with strikers also we struggle. Somehow this number nine does not work out for us. But I don't think so how we can fit Felix and Nkunku together in the same system.
Yeah, I mean, Miz, what's your take on it before I jump in on this kind of like this paradigm of these three players in particular who all kind of need to be support strikers? Because do you know what? Nkunku seems like he's got good finishing tech, but I'm going to wait for him to touch down at Stamford Bridge and the juju to, submerge on him before I judge him too much, because we have a great record of ruining people up front.
Yeah, this is it's interesting. What are we going to do? Flawed front three, number nine, classic number nine. It's difficult. Before I come to the whole João Felix thing, let's just think about the number nine situation. Whole heap of conversation happening in regards to Victor Osimhen. I feel like he's going to cost so much money. Money is not the issue for us. It's more the FFP. Can we manage to keep everything within the books? Can we make sure that accounting does not get, hammered? So someone like Victor Osimhen coming in, then the question mark in regards to, well, what about Broja? What about David Datra Fofana? What's the future there? Kai Havertz, as Baba said, potentially could leave, but I'm starting to think he may not anymore, Matisse. I'm starting to think Graham Potter really likes this guy, the way he talks about him in every press conference, the way Havertz talks about Graham Potter. I'm not really sure anymore if this guy is one of the guys that is going to be going. Like, he may be one of the names put forward by the board, but I think Graham Potter might actually fight for this player and actually say, I don't want this guy to go. He really fancies him. So I don't know 100% whether we're going to get a number nine or not. So having said that, João Felix, I think we can already see the level of an attacker he is, how our attack sort of works with him, and how he's combining with Enzo Fernandez, how he's combining with Havertz, how he's combining with Sterling. Yes, Nkunku's coming and potentially he could do the same thing, but I feel like João Felix, Matisse, is what is he, 22?
I think he might
I'm pretty certain he's about 22 or 23 or something like that. He's a supreme talent, man. Like, he's not hit his peak yet, and you can see the caliber of attacker he is. We're only talking about João Felix at the moment in a confused state is because he hit 3 posts. Had those 3 posts got in and some of the other opportunities that he's had, he maybe would have been on 6-7 goals by now. I think he's got 2. It was a good finish against Everton. I don't know, man. I think when an opportunity comes to secure a very, very good attacker in the likes of João Felix, I think you take it. You take it and you try and work it. He can play on the left side. We've seen him do that for Portugal when Gonçalo Ramos played up front and he played on the left side. He can play through the middle. He can play as a false 9. He's loving his life at Chelsea Football Club. He wants to stay as well. I think that's important when a player wants to stay at a football club and wants to do well. And Diego Simeone, I think we'll see out the contract in Atletico Madrid, which means he's going to be there till the end of season 2024. So, and don't forget, Todd Bowley is good mates with Jorge Mendes. So it's all lining up that João Felix
Yeah.
will potentially stay. So in regards to will it work out if Nkunku, I think it will, man. I think they're all smart enough to work things out. João Felix, Nkunku, Sterling. I could picture that. The fluid front three. Interchangeable. Sometimes Sterling up front, sometimes Nkunku up front, sometimes João Felix up front. I don't see any reason why it can't work. It all comes down to Graham Potter, pre-season, the chemistry, understanding exactly what he wants from the three when they're playing, what positions they're taking. So for me, I'm all up for João Felix, bro. I'm all up for João Felix. It can be a little bit iffy if we do end up going for a number 9 Matisse, if we do go for like a Victor Osimhen, then you start thinking, well, how do we now also get João Felix and Nkunku's coming in? That's when the conversation gets a little bit,
techie.
Yeah, because if you're bringing in a number 9 like Osimhen, potentially what you're telling the team is, I want everything to channel through to him. I want crosses, I want early balls. This guy needs to score 20 plus goals. So then you're sort of thinking, well, how important is Felix when there's also Nkunku coming in? If you're not getting a number 9, I think everyone has a place.
I think it's an interesting one. I like Felix a lot. And I think him being able to play off the left is important, because if I was to pick who I would want playing off the left and who I'd want closer to goal, maybe as a second striker, I'd probably say Felix off the left and Nkunku as a second striker, because Nkunku is a better finisher. So I'd probably want Nkunku closer to those central areas, just hovering around the box, if not in the box when we're attacking, crashing the box, because he's gonna score more goals, you feel, than a Felix who's not really got a consistent goal output. But I do think that some people will say, to combat all of this, is that this is very similar to when we signed maybe a Ziyech and signed Kai and we signed Werner and we signed, all of these forwards, and we were like, they're just going to find a way to make it all work. And they didn't, because in the end, no one was really playing their natural position. And if their natural positions overload or overlap too much, then potentially someone's going to get shafted and put out of position, and then they're not going to be performing. I think the one thing I'll say to these players in particular, especially Felix and Nkunku, is that they're not, for me, as limited as, say, a Werner. I think a Werner is very, very limited. I think I've said before, Ziyech is quite limited as well. I don't think these attackers are as limited. I do think they're a lot more fluid. I do think they're much more comfortable in wide areas because they can take a man on, or go central because they can link up. So I do think that they're better footballers first and foremost, whereas, Werner in particular was heavy first touch, needs to run into space. People thought he could play off the left. He was never going to be able to play off the left. He can't dribble, couldn't cross, all of these things. So I think there is potential for this, but I would be interested to hear actually what your striker kind of names that are floating around in your head, because we've mentioned Victor Osimhen, who's obviously the most expensive. Ivan Toney's got that betting situation around him as well.
Mitrovic's name's been thrown out.
Mitrovic, yeah.
I don't mind Mitrovic, actually. I actually don't mind him. I think he's a solid Premier League striker, works hard. The only issue with Mitrovic is he's 28, so in terms of our project, where does that put him? But then I feel like
Mitrovic is Benzema of Championship.
Do you know what? Even in the Premier League, he's been banging in goals.
He has been banging in goals. If I was going to take a player from Fulham, though, I'd be looking at Paulinho first. That would be
he'd be the first one. Yeah, Paulinho would be the first one in terms of DM. But
even Ferguson at Brighton is banging in the goals at the moment. 18
Vlahovic is also an option, which does not get.
Yeah, Vlahovic, but
Vlahovic from Juventus.
Do you know what? Obviously the first option is Victor Osimhen, but is I don't know whether FFP, we can't do those 6, 7, 8 year terms anymore. Come this summer, it's going to be the standard 5 years again. Yeah. Dealing with Napoli is not always easy, so I don't know. I'd love to feel that we can get someone like Osimhen, and that'd be fantastic. But in the short run, if we have to make do, obviously Ivan Toney would be my favorite. He would be amazing, but then you don't know how long he's actually going to miss. Some people are saying he could potentially miss up to 6 months of next season. I mean, that's detrimental.
Huge.
Mitrovic, as I said, I think for a big guy, he's quite mobile, man. Like, you can make him press. You can make him, defend from the front. But yeah, Matisse, I don't know, man. Like, it's a bit. Look. I
if it
can't.
wasn't for that ban, Ivan Toney would be my shoe-in.
I just can't get over the fact of who's going to be our manager. That's the thing. Like, I can't think of anything else as yet without thinking who's actually going to be leading us next season. Do you know what I mean?
It'll be Graham Potter. I think it'll be Graham Potter.
Yeah.
I'm quite confident that it will be, to be fair. I think he had a moment between Southampton and Leeds, with Dortmund as well, and Leicester. I think that was his period of could be sacked, could not be, could be. And I think he's got past that. I think he's going to be fine till next season. He's definitely going to get next season. I don't think they're going to sack him in the summer. I think they're going to give him a full preseason. I think they're going to give him the summer window. They've got a lot of sales to make. And once they get those sales done, if they get those sales done, because it's not going to be easy, we're talking about Lukaku coming back. That's going to be a massive loss that the club have to take. They have to take a massive hit on him. And they have to get that situation resolved very quickly. You can't have, say, Hudson-Odoi come back, Ampadu come back, Lukaku come back, on top of Gusto and Nkunku, everybody that we have right now, Levi Colwill, Ian Maatson. This is potentially a group of about 50 to 55 players that are first team, because you can't shove these guys into the academy. They're not academy players. That is already a bad preseason. Just before we've even started, it's a bad preseason. With that many,
I'm worried.
This is so, there is no perfect time for Graham at this club. There doesn't exist. That is already a terrible preseason. Before we've even started preseason, the preseason is bad with that amount of players coming back. So if any of those, so then when he goes to do his selection for the preseason tour, he is going to have to be ruthless, very ruthless, because he has to make sure he picks players that he plans on working with next season. And if it's between, say, Levi Colwill, who he seems to like because they were bringing him in at Brighton when he was in charge, and it's between him and Lukaku, I'm not expecting him to pick Lukaku. If we all know that Lukaku's going to be leaving or loaned out or, whatever, I'm not expecting him to pick that senior player with a lot of influence and a lot of ego over the young player. Because this is what happened under Tuchel a little bit in the preseason tour, isn't it? Started picking a few players that weren't really having long-term futures at the club over some of the really talented young players coming through. So, and I remember being quite annoyed about that, because I feel like if we're going to go down this road of long term, then you have to actually commit to it properly, which means you need to give those young talented players a chance. You can't be wishy-washy about it. So yeah, it's gonna be interesting. So Bubba, you wouldn't spend the money on Felix. Who would you get up front?
I'm personally in favor of getting a traditional number 9. I completely agree with what Miz has said, but we have to look at the other side of the coin also. Like, we have these conventional wingers in our team. We talked about players playing interchangeably, but what happens to players like Mudryk, players like Noni, Madueke? We've got all these players to play a certain style of football, or are these just owners' signings? So these factors, these signing of a striker depends on a lot of variables. Who's the manager is going to be, who's coming in. If Graham Potter stays, then what kind of style he's going to play. Because Mudryk, I don't think so fits in the style of Graham Potter's football. He didn't have such kind of players at Brighton. Those out and out wingers who would, just go out there and just obliterate defenses with their raw pace and skill. He needed players like Trossard who would help Brighton in defensive transitions, also hard-working wing-backs / wingers type of players. So what happens to these players? So in my opinion, what the ownership is trying to do is, it is evident with these signings also, that they are trying to assemble a group of players who can play in any system and also have a room for a lot of flexibility. For example, if you have to play 3 at the back with 3 forwards, you have players like Nkunku, Felix, Havertz, all of these players. And if you're going for a conventional back 4, going for a conventional 4-2-3-1 or a 4-3-3 with proper wingers and a striker. So it's just one striker away from doing that also. So I think we have to look into that who's going to be mainstay as a manager. But coming back to the striker point, I am uh, I have only two names in my mind: Ivan Toney and Victor Osimhen. Victor Osimhen is very difficult to get. I don't think it's realistic, to be honest, because 150 million plus us not being in the Champions League makes it very difficult. As Ms. has also rightly pointed out, that FFP is a problem. Money is not a problem, but how we are going to manage that? Player sales is going to be a major task because recruitment we have done already, but who are going to be offload? I don't see him staying at the club. Hudson-Odoi, Ampadu, all these players that you've mentioned. So once the clear out is done, then I think it makes room for these players to come in. So Ivan Toney and Victor Osimhen, I think these two players are there, which we can look at. Or if Spurs are in absolute turmoil and they're in the depths of hell, because that club has a tendency to self-implode. Maybe slight chance of Harry Kane, who knows?
No. No chance. Absolutely no chance of Harry Kane. Unfortunately.
If we were to give an offer that was too good to refuse,
Levy would still refuse
Spurs
it.
don't deal with Chelsea.
Levy would still refuse it. I think you
guys.
We was talking backstage about you guys coming to London and going to the Emirates and bringing Chelsea gear and thinking that it was going to run and having it taken off of you by the stewards. You can't wear that hat. You can't wear that beanie. There will not be a transaction between Tottenham and Chelsea. It just doesn't. It won't happen because regardless of how much we put up front, Tottenham will probably take less. The Luka Modric deal to Real Madrid when we could have got him, that literally they sold him for less to Real Madrid the year after when his value had gone up. Tottenham fans would absolutely kick the doors down in that stadium if he was ever allowed to go to Chelsea. And I don't think Harry Kane would come to us anyway. He spent far too much time there, too much loyalty is being shown for him to then go and throw that all the way to come to Chelsea. So it's just not going to happen. But I think when it comes to these forwards as well, you know, for me, I'm looking at it and I'm thinking to myself, we talk about we have to clear out, which we do. We have to clear out. With the amount of time it's going to take to clear out all of those players, because we're talking about 10, 15 players we need to sell. Minimum, really. Around about that ballpark. Just to have a normal team, a normal squad. Because I did all of it on that video that I put out. And I had to get rid of Gallagher, Loftus-Cheek, Mount, you know, loads of players. Pulisic, Ziyech, Hudson-Odoi, everybody. I had to get rid. It was a lot of players. Lukaku. If you're gonna, by the time you get all of those done, some of these targets will be probably gone, because it's not going to get done in you know, all in June or in July. Some of it's going to be in August. And if Victor Osimhen's looking at Chelsea or Manchester United, by the time we've got everybody out to make room, he's already going to be in a Man United shirt, who have qualified for the Champions League under Ten Hag. So that is another issue that we have coming up in our transfer dealings, is the fact that we have so much clearing out to do that we kind of have to do. Like, how comfortable would you guys feel about us bringing in, say, 3-4 players that we know we need in key positions? So say a DM, a goalkeeper, a striker, and maybe secure Felix. That's 4. How comfortable would you feel about us doing all of it in the beginning, and then we've got, say, 60 players in the squad, and we need to sell 30? You know, like how comfortable would you feel about that strategy? Or would you prefer to sell first and then buy after?
Look at all the people that we have involved in the football club now, man. Christopher Vivell, we've got Joe Shields, Paul Winstanley. We even talking to that Bayer Leverkusen sporting director as well. Yeah. All of these people, pick one player, pick a player and start working on them. You cannot work as a team. Everyone's got to have a little project and work on that particular plan. You got to get them going. I think lads, the focus will be on getting rid of players first. I truly believe it will be focused on, because Graham Potter's already complained in recent times saying that, you know, it's not easy to have that many players. Like, literally in the January, 6-7 new other players came in on top of all the other players that came back from the injury, and no one's getting the game time. This is not an easy situation for Graham Potter. Of course it isn't. He's had to obviously abolish Aubameyang, who's now celebrating with Barcelona. Seems like he's a Barcelona player. You know, Ziyech sometimes doesn't see the squad. Sometimes many others don't see the squad. So I think number one priority will be you got to find home for some of these players ASAP. You can't linger them on for too long, and you have to do this business nice and early. As you said, Matisse, if any of these players still stick around for the preseason, that's
going to impact.
That's already a bad preseason because they're not going to be sticking around for the entirety of the season. So
maybe that's why we're bringing in so many people, isn't it?
Maybe
I was starting to wonder why, how many more directors, sporting directors, technical directors, recruitment staff do we need? But then when you look at the size of the job to get rid of all these players, maybe that is going to be the first task for all of them.
100%, I think so, man. And look, I don't expect the summer window to be as blistering as the January one. I think we'll still do business for sure. We need a DM, potentially looking at a goalkeeper. And that striker, as much as I feel we do need it, I do feel like we do need someone who can bang in 20-plus goals. But I don't know, man. I'm not really sure whether we're going to actually be able to complete that transaction. But I think a DM can be done because there is a need. The only way a striker probably happens is outgoings. Because don't be surprised, boys. Like, I think Graham Potter really likes Havertz, man. He really does like Havertz. So don't be surprised if he's
Havertz up top with Nkunku and Felix just
behind. He's the guy up top for you. Do you know what I mean? So
Mando Broja's back in training as well.
Yeah.
He's
David Dr. Fofana.
Massive injury. I do feel like Fofana needs a loan. He's so young. Obviously, he's just come from he's just come back from he's only Jesus Christ.
Bless you,
Fofana won't let me speak. He's just come from the Norwegian league, and I feel like that gulf and that gap between Norwegian league to Premier League is huge gap. And I think for his development, this is where the multi-club model would have come in handy. If we had, say, a team in Portugal, we had a team in France, which is the first two countries that they're trying to get sorted out. Obviously, the Mendes relationship is huge. Like the way you mentioned it is very critical because he has struck up a massive relationship with this guy. That is why we were linked with loads of Ronaldo, all of these players, and it seems like as if Felix, you could see how that could potentially happen. Obviously, the Portuguese club as well that they're trying to bring in. So I think
Enzo Fernandez as well, Matisse, was George Mendes played a huge part because George Mendes has massive hold on players playing in the Portuguese league. So Enzo Fernandez's agent isn't George Mendes, but George Mendes, if you're a superstar in the Portuguese league, you best believe his hand is there. He's going to be brokering that. So he's massive.
I think for Chelsea, the key is to, like you said, act really quick and take these maybe cut price. Clubs are going to be looking at us thinking we can get a cut price deal on Loftus-Cheek. We can get a cut price deal on maybe Gallagher. We could get a cut price because we don't really have loads of time to be going back and forth unless a bidding war starts and loads of clubs are interested. We don't really have time.
Gallagher is going nowhere, bro. Gallagher is.
You think Gallagher will stay? Because I think Gallagher's probably one of the easiest players to move. Because his wages aren't high. He's young. I think, he's English, and he's got a stock in the market in the Premier League.
I think that 40 million offer from Everton, if it was true or not, we should have accepted that.
We did. We did.
I think it was true. I think it was true.
But Gallagher didn't want to go to Everton.
Yeah, he didn't want to go.
Yeah, but I think the way Potter uses him, I think if he's in charge, I don't think so he's going anywhere. Same with Havertz also.
See, this is what I've been saying. I want to know what is happening with the manager because I think this manager has some favorites. You know, Havertz, Conor Gallagher,
and which is fair. Which is fair. Which every manager has favorites, and he puts his trust in certain players. But again, what happens to Mudryk? Because I am fearing the worst for him. Because the other day he plays really good against Leicester, does not get a shout for the Everton game, is not even called from the bench. Pulisic gets a start in that game, is not even used in the Dortmund game also. So what is happening there? So all these questions I don't really get what is happening because now Kante situation, if he's fit, are we really going to go after a DM? Because I think we need to. We don't know if he's going to stay fit for a long time or not.
If they don't, there would be neglect again. and they'd be making a massive mistake, a mistake that every single summer we make, which is Kante is back now, so everything's going to be fine. We don't get anybody, and then he gets injured again. On Gallagher, I'm not sure, because the club were willing to let him go to Everton in January. They were. He didn't want to go to Everton. I think if Newcastle had come over 40 million bid, I think he would have been holding up a Newcastle shirt in January, no problem. So I don't know. I think like the same way Graham Potter's using Pulisic, I don't think Pulisic.
But doesn't it raises this elementary question again? Are these decisions being taken with the discussions of the manager, or with in sync with the manager, or the ownership is doing by themselves, the signings, the departures? Is manager being consulted in all of this? What's the line of action right now? Like, how is it going to move forward?
For me, same as how I've said in January, which was when Stanley come from Brighton, Carl McNally came from Brighton. They're both worked with Potter before. They're both part of the recruitment team. I don't know how big their say is, because obviously Christopher Vell is the head of that recruitment team, and he's the one leading it. And he didn't hire Potter, that's the big red flag, right? Is that Christopher Vell didn't actually hire Graham Potter. So how much confidence and belief he has in Graham Potter will remain to be seen, depending on the level of job that he does. But there are recruitment staff in that boardroom that are directly linked and tied with Graham Potter from Brighton. So you would assume that the players coming in are Graham Potter-like players, in terms of they've seen what his system looks like when it's fully implemented at Brighton, when they finish 9th, and they're looking at certain attributes, qualities, traits, and they're saying, right, Mudryk has that, we're going to bring him in. So I'm not worried about that side of things, but I do think that also these players are easily translated, hopefully, to another attack-minded coach. You know, I don't think the days of us signing players where they're more Conte style and then we flip completely to a Sarri style, which is two polar opposites, you know, to a Lampard and Tuchel. I think now, hopefully, I'm expecting the direction is progressive attacking managers. I don't expect, and this is why when you said Diego Simeone in the group chat, I completely shut it down immediately, because I was like, I don't think Chelsea will ever go again with this ownership from a Graham Potter to a Simeone to a, say hypothetically, the Sporting Lisbon manager to then, Allegri. That doesn't make any sense. It's got to continue to be attack-minded managers. And because you've already gone with Graham Potter, who is by nature a progressive manager and wants to play the ball forward quickly, vertical passing, etc., then, people like Jose Mourinho, Diego Simeone, for me, are absolute non-starters. Like, there's just no way we go anywhere near managers like that. The Sporting Lisbon manager very much did impress me against Arsenal. I think he was brilliant. That mold of manager, I could see us being linked with him in the future if things don't go well. But the Diego Simeones and the Jose Mourinho's, obviously Younes as well was saying Jose Mourinho, I think absolutely no chance. And those guys, will they be as collaborative, obviously communication-wise, that side of things as well with this ownership? In my opinion, absolutely not. Diego Simeone doesn't have, his temper is too short-fused to be dealing with Todd Boehly and his constant questions and his constant line of communication. Same applies to Jose Mourinho, I think, as well. He's still got a short temper, or he can still have irrational flip-out moments. So as much as people have not liked Graham Potter's kind of overall demeanor and his attitude or his way of doing things in terms of the way he, approaches situations in media, that is the type of person they're looking for, a calm head, because that's the type of person you can collaborate with a lot easier than a hothead. So that's how I kind of see it. But what do you think, Baba? You don't think maybe that the recruitment is in line, or how do you feel?
I don't think so. It's like he would have been informed that we are getting in these players, but I don't think so. He would have been the first person to be asked of, okay, do you need this player, or do you think where we are lacking and you need this player who could solve this problem for you? I don't think so that's happening at the club. I think it is similar to what happened in the previous regime when the owners and the board thought, okay, this is a good player, we should get him in the club. We used to get that player in the club, irrespective if manager wanted him or not. And that usually created a lot of problems for us, be it Shevchenko at time of Mourinho, be it Torres at time of Ancelotti. Those were the players we didn't really need at that time, but we eventually got those players. So I think it is being set up for as a backup in case it all goes south, in case Graham Potter fails, which I think he's failing right now. But let's hope for the things to improve. But if a manager is to take over, so he has this set of players who can play a style of football in which 90% of the managers operate right now. So I think that is what is happening right now.
Yeah. What about you, Miz? Yeah.
Yeah, it is a interesting situation. Like Graham Potter at the moment is using 3 at the back, and it seems like he's got some sort of balance back into the team by playing these 3 at the back, which is making it difficult for players like Mudryk to get in. Mudryk likes to be more out wide, doesn't really feel comfortable as an inside forward, trying to replicate the same sort of role that João Felix and Sterling and even Pulisic against Everton, where you're in the half space, back against the defender, pick the ball, turn the defender and drive, then find the passes. It's a very unique, like you need unique level of players to play in those pockets. Do you know what I mean? And right now, Mudryk, he doesn't fit that mold. He likes to be, from what we've seen already, from the little bits and pieces, he likes to be further out wide, the widest left-sided player, get the ball early, and then he wants to run at the defenders and beat them with pace, dribble, create chaos. So what happens next season? Do we continue 3 at the back? Me personally, I don't care about the formation. I need results. I need wins. But it is a point, what Baba made, that what is the plan? Like, you've got all of these players. You've got Noni Madueke, you've got Mudryk, you've got João Felix, you got all of this stuff. And you're on top of that, now you're also thinking about bringing more players in the summer. I'm not entirely sure whether Graham Potter actually is sometimes aware who's coming into the club. I think he just rocks up, especially in January. I think in January, our new board, and the set of recruitment people that we've hired, they saw opportunities with some of these players. They really did. They looked in the market and they saw that they're young. We can get them. We can lock them up for a long-term contract, which protects their value. So if we do want to sell, we can sell them for good money. And, they're potentially very, very good footballers. They're very good players. But I don't think I have to agree with Baba. I don't know if they've actually consulted with Graham Potter and said, hey, brother, what's your style of football? But
do they need to do that? Because when Stanley's there to I don't think they need to go directly to Potter for him to explain his plan tactically or systematically wise, because that's what Winstanley and Kyle McCauley are there for. These 2 people are key because they came with him from Brighton. So they understand exactly how he's trying to play. They understand exactly what his system is, and they are part of the recruitment team. So Potter shouldn't have to speak to any of these guys really too much. In my opinion.
You say that, and you're absolutely right to say that. But we've not seen Graham Potter play the Brighton way at Chelsea.
We haven't, but
until probably in recent times with the back 3. But yeah, initially there were times where Sterling was playing in the wing back position. Somewhere in the middle, it became 4 at the back.
Yeah, I think the reason for that is obviously we had one set of players before the window and a completely really different set of players after the window, really, in terms of the amount of changes. And I think he said that he was, or there was a clip that went out that they were obviously trying to implement the way that he wants to play with that set of players. Then there was a massive turnover in January and you basically had to start again. And at this point, I don't think he's trying to implement anything because he just wants results. Hence why he's bringing on Gallagher so early and he's trying to shut up shop and he's trying to lock things up. But that obviously came back to bite against Everton. And in the end, didn't even use the 5th sub. Could have brought on some pace on the break, at least to make Everton respect us and not completely
Matisse,
get hounded in. But
on that as well, Matisse, the Gallagher to shut up shop.
Yeah. I don't think he'll be doing that next season when he gets a DM. That's why I still think there could be some room for maneuver on Gallagher. Because Gallagher's not Mikel. Gallagher's not going to shut up shop. He's not going to come on and he's not going to come on and recycle the ball. He's not a defensive midfielder. He is just brought on to bring extra legs into that midfield and give an extra body in there, so we're not so easy to play through. But that is not a long-term sustainable way of closing out games. But also on this formation thing, I think when we look at the formation and we obviously we want to set formation in terms of, okay, we don't, like you said, you don't really care what the formation is, but if we give some sort of clear formation, then that is the plan going forward. Graham Potter at Brighton was always going between different formations. So I don't think his long-term plan is to be set on one formation. He played a 3 at the back. Sometimes he played a 4. Sometimes he played, you know, a 4-2, a 4-2-4 or 4-2-2-2. Like, he doesn't stick to any one formation. And against Leicester, he used 3 different formations in that game. If you guys remember, he played a 3 at the back. He played a 4-3-3 at the end. He changed 3-5-2. He changed formation 3 times in that game. I think long-term, that's what he actually wants to do. But because this team has been made up over different managers and is quite limited to certain systems and certain formations, we had Alonso, who was just a wing back. You know, we got Ziyech, who can't play as an inside forward, but wants to play out on the wing. Whereas Felix, you could maybe say, could play both. I think he wants more of those players that can do both. But like you said with Mudryk and Madueke earlier, Baba, these guys are out and out wingers. So if we do play tucked in forwards, he's either going to have to coach them, which he could do because they're young. You know, Ziyech is a lot older. So, you know, at least they're young. So you could coach them into doing that. But they're at the moment, from what I saw from Mudryk recently, I'm not really thinking he's an inside forward right now, which is why he's not really playing. I think he's got to play out on the wing. And that cameo against Leicester where we played the 4-3-3, that's where his performance improved and he got the assist in that formation. He wasn't playing, in my opinion, that great as a striker in a 3-4-3 up front. I just don't think that role really suited him. I didn't, him dropping deep, and it just didn't look right. It looked like complete mismanagement. You know, you don't buy Mudryk to go and play him up front, ask him to drop deep and link up play. This guy is explosive, pace. You know, this is a winger that, you know, Liverpool would have him on the left wing and that's it. They wouldn't move him around anywhere else. He's a left winger. So I don't think there's any formation that we're going to stick to. I think next season we'll play a 3, we'll play a 4, we'll play and whether that will be to our benefit or our detriment, it will be interesting because we have a lot of games. Well, we may not have a lot of games. You know, we might be playing Brighton fixture list. We might be playing 1 game a week. To be honest, we might not be playing in Europe. Brighton actually might have Chelsea's fixture list in Europa League, and we might have Brighton's fixture list in 9th. So maybe it will be more to our liking to have a whole week off and consistently changing systems. And you know, I don't know. It's gonna be interesting. But
you know what? The whole, I hear you. You're right. But predominantly, Graham Potter did use 3 at the back, but he did change things around, and that's fine. I'm just worried that, you know, players need to buy in on him, man. The players need to believe in him. Players need to, you know, when Graham Potter looks like he's going to be there for the preseason, he needs to have a plan because let's face it, Matisse, next season, well, going for 10th again. Like, boys, let's aim for 9th. No, you've got to start, you know, really pushing hard. Some of the top boys. I'm not saying go out there and win the league. No. But you got top 4 is a bare minimum. That's not even the conversation. I'm talking about you got to push. You got to push the Cities. You got to push the Arsenals. And if you're not doing that and you're still lingering around 6th, 7th, 8th, like, I feel like Graham Potter, you do need to have a set of principle that the players can believe in. You can't just be going into a new season going, boys, we'll figure things out on the day. We'll see how it is, who the opposition is, and I think there has to be certain principle how we want to play our football, and let the opposition adjust to us. Because I feel like some of the greatest managers out there, like Pep Guardiola's, Jurgen Klopp, they don't adjust to the opposition. You adjust to us. We play a brand of football, you adjust to us. So I don't know. I mean,
that's part of the leap from Brighton to Chelsea, isn't it? Is that Brighton, you're constantly maybe adapting your formation, your system to the opposition. Chelsea, you need to come with a different mentality and mindset.
Bang on. Yeah.
It's going to be interesting. I mean, I don't know what the future holds for that defense as well. We've spoken about the attack, obviously, the amount of options there. Midfield. I mean, actually, Baba, we haven't had you in a few weeks. What's your thinking on Mason Mount? You think that's more and more every day leaning towards a move to maybe Liverpool, Man United, or how you feeling?
Yeah, he's gone. I was talking to some of the guys who do some social media stuff for Chelsea in India. So they had done something with Mount, but club did not decide to release that footage. It was for Holi, which is a festival in India, festival of colors. You might know about it. So all these things indicate that he is not in the plans. Okay, there are some rumors regarding it's not about the wages, it's about the length of the contract. And he is also like his father is still his agent, but he has also approached some agency who will handle his negotiations and whatnot. So all of these are indications that he's leaving the club. I get it. Like if we are to build a team around João Felix, then it makes sense that we can't have Mount and Felix in the same team. But again, I think it's a huge risk to take. I don't think so that we'll be worse off if Mount leaves us. I don't think so that it would be a huge mistake. I just think that if he were to play in a team like Liverpool under a manager like Klopp, I don't want it to be another KDB situation, like what happened with us and KDB. Like he goes on in a team, he gets unlocked, and because we have seen the making of a good player are there in Mason Mount. We've seen that. Like he had that good run in the Champions League season. He was good in the first 6 months of the next season, but again, he has not been in form for last 6-7 seasons. Plus, now the whole instability, the bloating of the squad, and all of those things. So I just don't want that our rivals get strengthened by Mount joining them. I would be okay if we were to leave the league altogether. If he were to go to Serie A, to La Liga,
you won't be doing that.
He won't be doing that. I know that, but
yeah, I get you.
Yeah, the Salah.
Are you worried?
Give me PTSD.
Are you? I feel like Chelsea fans, like we always kind of go back to the KDB, Salah. It shows how deeply scarred we are from those transfers, because every single person that leaves, it could be a KDB or Salah. That's always mentioned. I feel like if Mason Mount was to go to Liverpool, I have no doubts he does very well for them. I have no doubt he improves them. He goes straight into that midfield free for Klopp, and he turns him back into the potential top player.
Slot in place of Henderson straight up.
Yeah, but with signings like Enzo Fernandez, who is just a baller, and I mean this guy is just ridiculous. I'm not as worried anymore. Like, don't get me wrong, I personally would still like him to stay if there's a slot for him, if they have a plan for him. If you don't have a plan for him, then you may as well get money for him, because. But I'm becoming less and less worried about the situation, purely because if we're playing, these inside forwards, I don't really want him as a front three. I don't want him as an inside forward. I know he was playing as an inside forward under Tuchel, but I personally feel like you can get some real attackers and play them there and get much more. He was overachieving statistically in those positions, but he's not an attacker. For me, he's still a midfielder in a 3, which is where Liverpool would play him. If you're going to play a 4-2-3-1, there's no spot for him, because again, in that double pivot, I wouldn't play him there, and I wouldn't play him in the 10. So unless you're playing that 4-3-3, which we're not guaranteed to do, because we're moving between systems all the time, there's not really a spot for him, and he's regressed so much and he's stagnated so much because of a lack of stability in his position, and maybe overplaying and just helping out the team instead of actually sometimes getting a break and coming playing sitting on the bench, etc. That maybe he needs a fresh start, and his relationship with the Chelsea fan base, particularly online, is so toxic as well. Maybe he does need a fresh start. And when you brought in a midfielder like Enzo Fernandez, who could spot a pass like nothing, and then you potentially bring in a DM alongside, and you're keeping maybe Cover, and you're keeping Kante, who obviously susceptible to injuries, and you've got Santos coming from that Brazilian club as well. He's out on loan. You've got Carney Chukwuemeka. I'm not saying I'm not going to miss Mount, but I definitely feel like life will go on, and I won't really look at it constantly and think, oh, what if? Because at the end of the day, he's been here he's been there his whole life, and he's been regressing for the last year, and it doesn't look like things are getting any better anytime soon. He's going to have some sort of Marcus Rashford, LeBron James rehabilitation in some sort of training facility in America for him to come back. That's the level of madness that is going to have to take place. He's not just going to just one day just come back to life. He's going to need, it's that kind of recovery that we're talking about. His confidence is completely shot. So, and the contract situation is still a problem. So if the contract doesn't get sorted out as well, there's going to be no choice but to sell him in the summer. We can't have a player of that value going into their last year and potentially leave for free. So what do you think, Miz, on this situation? I'm not saying that I'm unbothered, because I do like the player a lot, and I still do think he has potential. I've never really wavered from that. I don't think I'm going to do any revisionism at all, but I'm not shitting myself because I've seen Hazard leave. I've seen so many top players leave. I'm used to it. He's not one of those players. He's not at that level of a Hazard.
Life's gonna go on, bro. Life will literally go on. Like, as you said, he's not of that level. He's not of that level. No, we got our man Younes.
Oh man, is back. You know what? Yeah, I had a vision in my head that Younes would come just as I'm playing the outro, and then I would just put Younes on full screen like this and just leave him there at the end of the video just to piss off the viewers, and then press end broadcast.
Oh no, you know what's mad? My internet's moving like the international break. It knows it's just dead. So we had an outage. We had an outage. Huh?
Get Younes talking.
Yeah, Younes. We got to put you through now. Got to get you speaking.
Younes' show now.
We're just talking. We've spoken about
Mason Mount, aren't you?
Yeah, we are. Yes,
that's exactly when he pops in.
What a surprise!
Bro, you missed the whole Nkunku, Felix, striker, Havertz section about what our attack could look like and formation flexibility under Potter. And
I think we can all agree on that, though, isn't it?
And you come straight into the Mason Mount section.
Yeah, typical.
I mean, Bubba was just speaking about old times of like Kevin De Bruyne, Salah, regrets in terms of letting a player go. Obviously, Liverpool, I could see systematically how he'd fit in perfectly and do very well there. I was kind of talking about, Andre Santos coming in and the quality of Enzo Fernandez and the pass and getting that DM and maybe tying up, covering Kante. And I'm not saying that I'd be unbothered, but I feel like life would go on and I wouldn't really have any regret because the player stagnated and regressed so much. He would need a Rashford kind of level of comeback to kind of get back to where he was. Where do you feel in this situation? Like how emotionally attached are you to the situation in terms of him leaving or staying? Because we know that for some of the fan base, for a lot of the fan base, it's hitting them hard. And for a lot of people, he's obviously very polarized, and some people really don't care. And they feel like, for what they're reading in reports, there's not enough loyalty to the cause. I'm not blaming him on the contract situation. I'm not blaming anyone. I think it's very clear for me what the problem is and why it probably won't be addressed.
Yeah, no, I'm not blaming him. I'm not blaming the club either. It is one of those things. It's just one of those things that can happen, to be honest. And when it comes to, if I think, will there be any regret? I don't think there will be. Would I want him to stay? I honestly don't mind. If he stays, great. And if he were to leave, for me, I'm not looking at Mason Mount as a player. I'm going, oh my God, like I'm desperate now. He must absolutely remain. Like, no. But I'm happy if he were to stay, because I've always had it in my head that if you do surround him with better quality, that maybe it can take him to another level. At the same time, what it might do is also prove that maybe he's stagnated. You can go one of either way, which we haven't really got to see, except for the times that he's played this season where it's not been good enough. So overall, I think we'll be okay. But yeah, I would happily give him an opportunity and see, what he can do with players, that are coming in and more that are going to come in, and players like Santos and whatnot. It'd be interesting to see. However, I've already separated myself from it because I'm already convinced that he's gone. I don't see any way that this is going to get resolved. When you look at the gap in terms of what he wants and what Chelsea want, I just don't see it happening. So hence why I've taken a really realistic approach. The one thing that I do want to say, because there's the example that I've heard a lot and all of us have heard with, we don't want to let a player like him go because he'll go somewhere else and he'll blow up because KDB went, Salah went. As much as that can happen, right? Although if he were to go to Liverpool, I think that he'd be used in a very specific way under Klopp. which is a way that we already know. I don't think he'll be using a technical way. I think he'll be purely physical, purely, you know, cover a mileage, hit certain spaces, and that's, I think, all you're going to see from Mason under Klopp. But and if he does well with that, he does well. But with KDB and Salah, look, we didn't really give them an opportunity. You know,
true.
with KDB and Salah, we didn't really actually see them play that much. With Mason Mount, we've had him for over 3 years.
Yeah.
So we have a pretty much. Imagine if we gave KDB 3 years or 4 years, and then we gave Salah 3 or 4 years, and then we sold them. You know, or got rid of them, or didn't agree a contract.
Also, Younes, how old was Salah and KDB when we let them go? 21?
21. I think KDB was 21, 22.
I think, yeah. They
Salah
were younger than Mason
well.
now. Younger than Mason now. 100%.
Yeah, much younger. A couple
That's the
years
difference.
100%.
Like Mason's 24.
Yeah.
And we have to be logical here, right? At the time where we did let them go and they couldn't get into the team, right? We had players that were winning league titles.
Yeah.
We had players that were actually getting things done and winning trophies, and we were on top of the world, right? We were going far in competitions. There wasn't any regret in letting them go at the time. It was only in hindsight where we were, you know what? Maybe if we kept him, but at the time we were winning things. It happens. It's one of those things. But with Mason, 3-4 years, 4 years now, coming into, or more, 4 years, 4 years in the Chelsea team.
Lampard
as a first teamer
season, 2 Tuchel season, and now Potter season.
So 4. It's more than enough time to judge a player and know what you're getting from him. More than enough. So I don't see any regrets.
Yeah. Another thing we were discussing as well is, I guess, the debate in the group chat, which was kind of like Havertz, Felix, and Nkunku. Do you feel like that can work with an additional striker coming in and then just making all the clear-cut obvious sales, which would maybe be Mount, Ziyech, Pulisic, Hudson-Odoi, Lukaku? Could you see that work? Are you happy for the carnage, or is it giving you Werner, Ziyech, Kai, loads of new attackers, you know, kind of syndrome and worries and concerns there? Because we were also talking about the influx of players, but also how are we going to bring in more players when we have to sell so many players? And which do you do first? Do you bring in three, 4 players in key positions and then just try and do the sales after? Or do you just completely clear the squad, which is obviously going to take time? And by then, said targets could be off the market as well.
No, I think it has to be done simultaneously to an extent. But I think the prime aim would be to sell first, if I'm honest. Because there are players that are just sitting there that we need to get rid of. Simple. And we know who we want. And I genuinely think we're not going to get in tons and tons of players. I do think it's going to be specific, unlike the past windows. I think this time it's going to be more, we want a striker, we want maybe a midfielder. We've got Nkunku come in. Maybe that's it. Maybe that's all the business we're doing. And then some of the players that are coming back, like a Santos, for example, or whatnot, that are going to get into the team, Gusto, and all these new guys that I've already signed that are going to come into the team. I think after that, we'll be settled. So, I think that's the approach. But with the whole Havertz, Felix, and Nkunku thing, I don't see all 3 of them being at the club at the same time. And genuinely, if we were to keep Felix, that means that we're going to use him. And Nkunku's coming in, which means we're going to use him. I think Kai is going to be the one that's sacrificed. Now, unless if Felix doesn't stay, then we definitely keep Kai Havertz. But what it seems like we're hearing is João Felix is more than happy. He's already told Atletico, apparently, that he doesn't want to go back. I'm happy for him to stick around, if I'm honest.
Do you know what it is as well? Like, we've seen Lampard and the Mount relationship. We've seen Tuchel and the Rudiger relationship. And now we're seeing potentially the Potter and the Kai Havertz relationship, where Kai is literally coming out in press conferences defending him. Potter's speaking glowingly about him as well. He's starting every single game up top. If he's not starting up top, he's playing just behind the striker, whether that be Mudryk or it be whoever. Feels like there's something blossoming between those two, some sort of whirlwind. And I also don't know who is interested in Kai. Like, who is genuinely interested in putting up the money for Kai right now? Like, Bayern Munich, I don't think they are. Who else is out there, really? What is his market? That's another issue. You know, for all of these sales, what is their markets? Which is why I feel, even though Gallagher's been coming on, I do feel like there's definitely a market for him. I think you could sell Gallagher tomorrow. I really do. Like, Premier League clubs will take Gallagher like that, no problem. Low wages, English, young player, works hard. It's got some quality in a more transitional maybe team as well. We've seen at Palace, they'll take him, no problem. But to round off, because obviously we're coming up to the hour, and I got to download and upload. But Real Madrid, we haven't spoken about that since we got together, actually, because obviously I think the last episode was maybe just before the draw. How does everybody feel about our route to the final, and what's the confidence levels? Obviously, Baba, I know you went to the game at home to Dortmund. You saw us at our best with the flares, with the smoke grenades, with the atmosphere. And then you saw us at our worst against Everton with that capitulation. So how confident are you about the Real Madrid game, first of all, and then the semi-final draw as well?
This is the worst possible draw that we could have hoped for, I think. Even if we were to get past Madrid, we would have City or Bayern waiting for us, right? If I'm not wrong. So,
you're right.
So we were supposed to be on the other side of the bracket. I would have gladly exchanged places with Napoli being there and us being there. So that would have been our best chance to reach the finals. But I think the only thing which gives me hope against Real Madrid is that second leg is at Stamford Bridge. And Real Madrid are there at most dangerous when they play the second leg at Bernabeu. So if we were to come home with something in hand, like with only a 1-goal deficit to overturn, like what we did against Dortmund, or if we were to come away with a draw at Bernabeu. Because if you look at Real Madrid, they are also not playing that well. But they were not playing that well last season also, but they won the whole thing, didn't they?
Yeah.
So, but it's Real Madrid, it's Champions League. You don't, underestimate them when it's Champions League. I think we'll beat Real Madrid, but I'm not very hopeful of our chances in the semis, even if it's Bayern. I think we can beat Bayern, but we don't beat City. That is my take. Our best chances that we beat Real and we get Bayern, because Bayern, I think they have some flaws, because I think in how long the Bundesliga title is competitive, it's going down to the wire.
Yeah.
This season, if you were to face Bayern at any time, I think it's this season. There are some frailties in their squad. There are some weaknesses that you can exploit. They play a very high line. We have these pacey wingers who can exploit those high lines. And tactics, I won't go into that. First, we have to go past Real Madrid. But I think our best chance of going into the final is we beat Real Madrid, we get Bayern. City, we are not beating. In over 2 legs, we are not beating City.
I don't know. I think Bayern actually might knock out City, but yeah, I think it's the worst possible draw. I completely agree with you. Absolute worst possible draw. I am shameless. I am more than happy to take the easier teams. No problem. People say, I want to go up against the best, beat the best to get. No. I don't care. I don't care. I really don't care. Yeah, do it in the fight. I really don't. I don't care. Younes, I want your honest outlook on this, right? Potter in charge, Champions League, first campaign. The in-game management's been a little bit iffy. Do we have any chance, bro? Any chance? Because I'm not going to lie, I'm sitting on a flat 1 or 2%. Like, we are, I think, bottom favourites to win the Champions League, and I would agree with that.
Oh, yeah.
I genuinely believe we are bottom favourites to win the Champions League now. Behind all the other clubs, because of the way the draws panned out on the other side. You could say, yes, Benfica and Napoli are favourites on that side of the draw, but you wouldn't rule out, those other teams as much as maybe us in our path. So do you have any hope of the unthinkable happening and a free?
We talk winning the Champions League. Yeah, of course. We're going to win the Champions League, man. No. Listen. Honestly, no. Honestly, if I'm going to be real, no. You never know. This is the thing. You never know. And it would be the most Chelsea thing, right, for us to actually go all the way. I think with any other team in our circumstances right now, it'd be dead. But because it's Chelsea, you always just have to have that little bit of, maybe. Yeah. You never know, right? I do want to say one thing, because we're playing Real Madrid and it is Carlo Ancelotti, that I think Ancelotti trumps Potter in every single aspect that there is, or every single metric that exists. But as much as we've been criticizing Potter for what he's been doing in games like against what he did against Everton, what he done against Everton on a tactical level, those substitutions, you do tend to do if you have a lead against a big team and you want to shut shop. That's where I actually find it acceptable.
Yeah.
So if you were to take that approach against Real Madrid and we're winning 1-0, I'd understand.
Yeah.
Right? It's a lot of people are going like, oh no, you know, those people that are saying, oh, it's a good thing to maybe defend a little bit. Then when he does it, and then it backfires, oh no, Graham Potter doesn't know what he's doing. There's certain opponents where it works, and there's certain opponents where you just shouldn't have to do that. Against Everton was a game where you just shouldn't have had to do that, especially after going 1-0. You go 1-0 up, you make the mistake, we concede, and then we go 2-1 up, and then you say make the same mistake again. It's like, come on, you know. But against Dortmund, it was a circumstance where that was acceptable. You know, you had to shut it down for half an hour to protect a 2-0 lead. Cool, absolutely, and I get it. Against Real Madrid, I would get it. So it honestly depends on the occasion. If the boys are going to be motivated like they were against Dortmund, if they're going to show up with that extra fire and that extra urgency and intensity. And I think it comes down to that a lot, because there were parts in that Everton game where we were flat. The whole game was flat. We were flat. Everton were flat. Against Dortmund, that just didn't exist. And I think against Real Madrid, that won't exist either. But it's the quality against Real Madrid, man. It's Real Madrid, it's Ancelotti. I do think that they will trump us eventually. I do think there's going to be too much for us to... there's going to be too much to bite, you know, that we can actually chew. So, yeah, we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens.
The one player, Miz, that Potter has never utilised that could be the game changer is N'Golo Kante. Could he give us something? Has he got something for us?
Bro, I'm a massive believer of momentum. If you guys recall that season when we won the Champions League, I said to you guys before the second leg started, we're through. I remember doing
against
that
Real Madrid. Yeah.
I remember doing that.
I was shitting myself. I remember I was
you guys
shitting
were
myself.
shitting.
Yeah.
I said, I'm not worried. We're through. Like, I've seen enough in the first leg to say that we're through, and not just the first leg. I saw enough that season under Thomas Tuchel that something was building. Last season as well, I recall we smashed Southampton, I think.
Yeah.
8-0.
I think it might be 6. I can't remember. I think it was 6.
Oh, it was 6 or something.
Yeah, I think it was 6.
And then I think we had another win, or maybe it was Real Madrid straight after. So once again, there was a bit of a momentum.
Yeah.
This is why the Everton win was so important, just to keep going and build this momentum. So now that momentum is broken. We've got 3 matches before Real Madrid, I believe. Aston Villa, Liverpool, I was just looking at that.
Yeah.
Wolves.
And they're all 3 days apart from each other. And then we've got Madrid 4 days later in Madrid.
This is what's going to tell me.
And then we got Brighton 3 days later, and then we got Madrid 3 days later.
So... Look, this Real Madrid team, I've watched them recently. As Baba said, they've got flaws. They're so lopsided. It's all through Vinicius Jr. Everything is through Vinicius Jr. There's nothing on the right side. They try and make do on the right side. Valverde plays as a winger at times. Carvajal is
finished.
He cannot run anymore.
Stick Mudryk on him.
Yeah. He's so tired. People are saying he's aging while the game is going on. He's getting older whilst the game is going on. The midfield
he has to put Mudryk on him.
The midfield is good.
Yeah.
But Barcelona, like they showed, if you press the living daylights, if you have a good press, lots of energy and intensity, you can really rattle them, because they're not a team that that just moves very, very swiftly, and they're very good in the counter, but if you get them on their half and press, they can be done, which we showed last season. They got done. We almost beat them by a whistle.
Liverpool were good against them for the first 20 minutes where they scored 2 goals.
But then for some reason, Liverpool just said, you know what, we're worried about, Trent Alexander-Arnold probably started getting worried about Vinicius Jr. But we don't have Trent Alexander-Arnold. We've got Reece James there, so you don't need to worry. So look, it all comes down to that. How serious our team is going to be post-international. I always worry about after international break, we always get a shellacking. We always get a slapping after international break. West Brom, thank God they're not around anymore. It's always West Brom after an international break. But Aston Villa, they're not going to be easy. Liverpool aren't going to be easy. Wolves, I'm pretty certain, is away from home. Is not going to be easy. So those 3 games will shape whether I think we're going to beat Liverpool or not. Because if those 3 games are not wins, either draws or loss or a draw, which it potentially can be, I don't think
Everton result was so poor, man.
That's the thing, man. That's it. Just. So yeah, look, man, and it's the first legs at the Bernabeu. If we're leading into that game with no wins, it's gonna be a long night, bro. It's gonna be a long night.
This is the thing as well. Like, it's very easy to identify the flaws that, say, Real Madrid have, because you can see them, say, Bayern Munich, if we were to reach a semi, some of the other teams. But we have to acknowledge, what about our flaws?
Yeah,
they're going to be looking at us and going, "Yeah, this Chelsea team, tons of flaws, guys." Tons, you know.
Flaw FC.
This is the thing. Like, we're doing what we're doing, they're going to be doing the same thing to us. So we got to look at ourselves. And yeah, I agree. It's all about momentum. We pick up results and we go into the Madrid game happy.
Yeah,
we can get a job done. Because the team is there, the talent is there.
That's the thing. The talent is really there.
Talent is there, man. But if we go into this, you know, with like losses on the bounce or something, then yeah.
Do you know what? I'd go as far as to say, with what I've seen from everybody on this side of the draw, right? What I've seen from Real Madrid this season, when I watched them get slapped up to Barcelona, not that last game, but the game where they got battered in the Super Copa.
Yeah.
From what I've seen of even Manchester City, where, listen, Man City are a great team and they're going to want revenge against us, but they're not perfect. They haven't been perfect this season. And with the squad that we have, if you were to take away everything else and just go by the quality of the squad, we should be one of the favourites to win it.
Yeah.
We really should. We should be one of the favourites to win it. When you go through that team and you go through the Fofanas and you go through, you know, when Thiago Silva comes back and you go through Chilwell and James and Kante and Enzo and Mudryk and Felix and all of, like, we should feel like we have a chance. You know, we really should.
What do you think? Not that long ago, I was saying we should aim to win this thing because the team is damn good.
When you consider what we won, the team we had that we won the Champions League with, just 2 years ago, and you look at what we have now, but if you had said that back then, everyone would be like, "Oh yeah, Chelsea have upgraded big time." But we're not playing like it.
Yeah,
far from it. But we have it. It's just true. I genuinely think in terms of a squad, we have upgraded. There's no reason why we can't go all the way. There really shouldn't be.
It's a shame we don't have Nkunku, Gusto, and Badishil to add to this. But yeah, wow. Well, we're going to find out. I think April and May are going to be very important months for this club and on our channels. It's going to be very interesting to see.
April itself, 9 games.
The nerves, the breakdowns, everything. It's going to be mad. So, yeah, good luck to all of us. Once this break is over, everybody rest up and enjoy these this week, because yeah, when we come back April and May, it's do or die really in those Champions League games. And in the Premier League, we have trips to Old Trafford, trips to the Emirates, trips to, well, we have a game at the Etihad, is it as well?
Let me
home
check.
to Liverpool.
Yep.
Home to Newcastle, home to Brentford, home to Brighton.
Oh my God. We're basically playing every single team above us.
Apart from Tottenham, yeah. Everybody else.
Fulham and Tottenham.
Yeah, apart from Fulham and Tottenham, yeah.
Oh my God.
So buck up. Get ready, guys, because even if we did a great result against Real Madrid, there's City or Bayern to come. It's going to be brilliant. Younes, let them know where to find you, bro. It's been a pleasure.
It has. And yeah, man. Well, firstly, as I said, enjoy the international break. Enjoy England tonight against Italy. Who knows? We might get battered. And Matisse is going to be very invested in that game, that's for sure.
I didn't even know we were playing.
Matisse is not English during international break, bro. He's Jamaican,
mate, he's not even English during a quarter-final of a tournament. He only comes in at the semi-final.
Semi-finals, bro. I need to get the new Jamaican top. It looks lit.
But Jamaica's got a good team, bro.
They've got a great kit as well. Yeah, bro.
Amari Hutchinson plays for Jamaica, by the way.
Yeah, Amari Hutchinson, 100%. We've got that new kid that we just signed as well. The new young kid that we got is from Jamaica as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
So yeah. But yeah, for the international break, keep up to tabs on what's going on. And I'll keep giving my thoughts up until when Chelsea come back, and then we start analysing the games as they come in thick and fast. So that's on Younes Talks Football.
There you go. Miz, let them know where to find you, bro. It's been a pleasure. Great show.
Man, it's been good. The other side of the coin, I'm actually quite interested in a couple of internationals. I'm actually interested in the England and Italy one. Still tossing up whether I'm going to do a watch along or not. But I'm keen to see how some of these English players play.
I'm not.
Definitely interested in Declan Rice. I've got a keen eye on Declan Rice all of a sudden.
You have become a great Declan Rice. We didn't speak about that, did we? Miz has become almost a Declan Rice lover in recent weeks. What's happened?
I'm interested. Now
Miz
that we got Enzo,
that's smarty, man.
Yeah, the rice hits you good. Do you know what I mean? So, now that we've got Enzo Fernandez, I don't need another equally technically well-rounded player like Enzo. I mean, it would be great. I'd love a Zubimendi, for example, but I think he's got his eyes set on Barcelona. So Declan Rice, why not? Why not, man? I think I've always said I don't dislike him. I just hate how some of our fan base, some parts of our fan base sort of talk about him. So I'm interested to look into that. I'm interested to watch Brazil-Morocco over the weekend. Brazil, I don't know if
Ancelotti.
No. Our boy Santos, Andre Santos, is he in the Brazilian team?
He's in the squad, I think.
He's in the squad. He's in the squad.
So, yeah. They were saying that his dream is to play alongside Casemiro.
Yeah, he's in the squad. So I don't know whether he's going to play. But the other one that I'm really interested to see, and I think he will start, Vitor Roque. So very keen to see how he plays because he's the next big sensation, man. And obviously Morocco, Hakim Ziyech will play, which will be exciting to watch. Man, I'm very keen. I'm keen. And also France as well with Kolo Muani. I really want to see how that guy...
Because that seems to be everybody's new kind of like player that they're looking at up front as well, yeah.
He's one of 5 this season that's got 10 goals, 10 assists in the season. So
Ferguson at Brighton's having a very good campaign. He's coming into his own as well. Got his first goal for Ireland there.
I still don't want early days. I know a lot of people saying he's the new Haaland that's coming up. I know he's looking good, but let's calm down.
Baba, what about you? Let them know where to find you, bro. It's been a pleasure. Great show to have you back.
Yeah, man. Great to be back after that trip from London. Yeah, Drogbaba, Instagram, YouTube, Twitter, and whatnot. Just hoping we can find something against Real Madrid, man, because the last thing we can do is hope that we go all the way. Because I don't think so we'll be in the Champions League for the next 2 seasons. The way we are.
2? Yeah. We have to be in it the year after.
So might as well make most of it when you're in the competition. So yeah, these are the last few games I think that we'll see the Champions League anthem playing at the Stamford Bridge.
We're literally playing for Champions League survival, aren't we?
You can still make it to the Champions League if we do qualify for Europe and win Europa next season. So,
but we should be making. If we're not in the Champions League, we should be making. We have to. No, not should. We have to make top 4 next season, minimum, and that's
we have to be in the top 2, bro.
You must
exactly. You must. Agree. So there is no next 2 seasons.
We need a title challenge,
man.
We need a title challenge. We need a title
criminal if you don't challenge for the title after this much spending. Okay, we are letting this season slide, but this is what is. This is the maximum leeway that you're going to get from
Facts, 100%. So there is no Champions League.
Next season,
24-25, we're back in the Champions League.
Yeah, if you are at say 7th or 8th after 10 games played,
brother,
you're gone for.
I will come pack your bags for you. I will come to your office for you and come and pack them bags for you.
There is no more process.
More than you can believe.
This project thing for me.
More than you can believe. More than you can believe, guys.
Do you guys remember when we used to not mock Arsenal, but we used to always point at them and go, look, there's that team that always just fights for top 4.
Yeah, last season.
I mean, we've been fighting for top 4 for like the last 5-6 years.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's what we do. Yeah,
but to be fair, we won the Champions League in the process.
Yeah, I mean, do you know what? If it wasn't for that 6-month spell for Tuchel, this club would really be in the mud. We'd be losing the last 5 Wembley finals, challenging for top 4 for the last 6 years, and we'd have no Champions League, therefore no Super Cup, therefore no World Club Cup. So we would actually be trophyless.
Oh my god, that would have hurt.
Mad.
So it's only that 6-month spell where he managed to put together a system, win us the Champions League, that led to the other 2 European and world trophies. Otherwise, raps for this whole club.
Need trophies, bro. Next season we need trophies.
When you deep it like that, people are like, oh shit, we've been bad for a minute.
Yeah.
You know, so anyway, wonderful way to end, guys. Make sure you subscribe to everybody's channels, links are in the description, and we will see you next week for the build up to the game against Aston Villa, I believe. And April, May. If you're saying, oh, there's not much going on right now,
and if we were to lose against Aston Villa, we'll be 11th, right? Because they are 11th.
Oh yeah,
they are on
literally, it's a battle for.
It's a battle royale.
It's a battle
royale. It's a big game.
Level.
Yeah,
we are only ahead in terms of the goal
difference.
I think
goal
we
difference.
are level on points. We are level
So
on points.
if you're thinking right now, there's not much going on at Chelsea. It's not much news. It's kind of boring. Enjoy the boring.
Just wait.
Go outside, smell that fresh air, enjoy your life because
go on a hike.
Because more than you can believe, guys. When we come back, it is going off. Do you understand?
Don't go anywhere.
Don't go anywhere, especially if Arsenal win that league and we capitulate. Don't go anywhere, okay? It will be a horrendous time. So until then, enjoy the rest of your international break.